It started back with the Apex Corporation in the 70s, and the birth of Silicon River in North Korea. Even back then, their tech was way ahead of what was coming out of America.
Homefront: The Revolution is the sequel no one asked for after a game that no one played. I honestly don't know anyone who played the original game, and yet here we are with a sequel, developed by Dambuster Studios. Now, Dambuster Studios is made up of folks who worked on the Crysis games as well as the Time Splitters series, so you think these guys know what they're doing. But according to all the reviews for this game, they apparently don't. One reviewer even said that he gave up on playing the game. Yeah, that's fine, Mr. Sterling. If someone's paying you to review a game, you can totally just give up on it and give a half-assed verdict. Other people are even calling it the worst game they've ever played. Well, Sonny Jims, it pains me to say this, but if this is the worst game you've ever played, then you need to play more games. Homefront: The Revolution is far from a masterpiece, but it's also far from the worst game ever made. On a positive note, it's a pretty good looking game. It runs on the Crytek 3 engine and it supports some pretty large environments with detailed interiors. Character models look good, though the animation can be a bit jerky at times, and all things considered, the performance wasn't all that bad. There's a night and day cycle, with the game looking realistically dark at night time and suitably glary during the day, and there's variety between all of the zones you visit. It's a shame that the music, the sound and the voice work is mostly forgettable, but in terms of the visual presentation, it's really not that bad. I'm a bit pissed off at how the game locks up for a second or so every time it reaches a checkpoint, but I can deal with that. Its real problem is that it doesn't have an original bone in its body, and every mechanic and feature has been done to death in similar games. It has a few bugs to make matters even worse, which is really nothing compared to other games like Fallout 4. Overall, it's still largely playable despite being burdened by mediocrity. So the story is that you're a guy named Brady working with the Resistance in an alternate future where North Korea has taken over the world through their highly advanced technology and weaponry developments, or something like that. In the game's prologue, you're meeting up with Benjamin Walker, the leader of the Resistance, until things go south and he's kidnapped by the North Koreans, or the Norks as they're referred to in-game. Yes, the Norks. I can't remember any of the main characters' names or what exactly their goals are, which made it all the more confusing during some of the plot twists. Also, for no apparent reason, Brady is a silent protagonist, which almost gets him killed during the prologue because he doesn't tell the Resistance that he's on their side. Anyway, you soon meet up with other Resistance members and begin taking over the pockets of the city one section at a time. This is done exactly as you'd expect, completing story missions as well as various side missions. There's areas where you have to kill a bunch of bad guys, then flick a switch or activate something, then the area becomes a safe house populated with friendly NPCs. There's up to a dozen of these per area, and you get points for unlocking them that can be spent on the many weapon upgrades available. Weapons are basic in the sense that they're just simple archetypes like pistols, sniper rifles, assault rifles, but what gives them a bit of uniqueness is the weapon mods. For instance, you can turn the basic pistol into either a submachine gun or a silenced pneumatic pistol. The marksman rifle can be modified into a more powerful, longer range version, and also a grenade launcher. And the crossbow can be turned into a flamethrower because, I don't know, that totally makes sense. You can also make a bunch of different grenades from Molotov cocktails through to hacking grenades. Then there's the expected upgrades for Brady as well, like faster reload times, more ammo, more health kits, more armor, all that kind of stuff. These all require cash, which is looted from dead soldiers or given in high quantity when you complete the main story missions. Now, the city itself is broken up into a number of different zones, which are either red or yellow zones. Red zones are basically just entirely hostile, where the Norks will shoot at you on sight, and gunfights and combat is happening almost constantly. In the red zones, you can ride a motorbike to get around the area faster, and there's also a big focus on guerrilla warfare type tactics, as it's easy for the North Koreans to call in reinforcements and outnumber you. On that note, combat is tricky, mainly because your health just melts away so goddamn quickly, even with the so-called upgraded armor. The enemy AI is far from intelligent. I mean, they're accurate and all that, but they often have issues with pathfinding and will circle around a building you might be in as opposed to just walking in the front door. But the challenge comes from their numbers and their high damage output more than their actual tactics. Then to counter the red zone, you've got the yellow zone, which is populated with citizens that haven't yet joined the resistance. In the yellow zone, you're advised to keep a low profile, or else you'll find yourself attacked by droves of enemies, and you'll have to resort to hiding in a dumpster or a portaloo to get rid of your notoriety. Stealth is pretty basic. It's really the absolute bare minimum required to pull off a stealth system. Basically, if you're in line of sight with an enemy, a semicircle is going to slowly fill up, and then you detect it. And then they all just start chasing after you. Using silenced weapons like the pistol or the crossbow will quietly incapacitate an enemy, and you're able to do the good old-fashioned press F to take down move as well. Now when you're detected, the game goes into total bullshit mode where the Koreans just spawn incessantly, and somehow they have some kind of X-ray vision, where they know exactly where you are at all times. In the red zone, it's even more chaotic as they often literally do not stop pursuing you until you're killed. It removes a lot of the sense of power and control from the player as you're just constantly being bombarded, but maybe that was kind of the point. Obviously, it's not as bad in the yellow zone though, due to the magical portaloos that render you pretty much invisible. The whole goal of these yellow zones is to get the citizens to fight alongside your cause, which you do by causing dissent, like killing high-ranking officials, destroying generators, or hacking display screens to broadcast your own messages. Once you get enough people on your side, the yellow zone rises up against the Norks and the citizens begin fighting back. Your work is done, you move on to the next area. Now, there's nothing inherently bad with any of this kind of stuff, it's just that it really does have this perpetual feeling of deja vu. It's like the bastard child of every open world game you've played in the last decade all rolled into one. If familiarity is a fault, then this game sure is faulty. You've seen it all before, taking over what is essentially the outpost from the Far Cry games, removing authority one shred at a time like in the Just Cause series, and then just the very cookie cutter player and weapon upgrades. Wow, I can make my machine gun reload faster, and now I have a better scope for my sniper rifle. Whoop-de-doo.
Put it to good use.
When I was playing Homefront, all I could really keep thinking was, man, this would make a really good Terminator game. When I was riding around the city at nighttime on one of the motorbikes being chased by drones, I kept thinking, if this was Skynet I was up against, this would be a much better game. I mean, look at this and tell me this doesn't look like something from the Future Wars.
I'm sending on location.
Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. Look, Homefront is a pretty crappy game, let's not mince words, but it's not unplayable, and I think that's what the big takeaway is. It's got a decent length to it, you're looking at easily 12 plus hours on a first time playthrough and upwards of 20 if you're a completionist. Then you've got the resistance mode on the side to sink your teeth into as well. If you see this one on sale or in a bargain bin, it might be worth taking a look at.